Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we have Gerald McKenzie. He is an experienced trial attorney with over 25 years of experience, who is a member of the Florida Bar Association, and he has represented clients all throughout the United States. Gerald primarily represents plaintiffs in personal injury cases, such as accident cases involving automobiles, trucks, trains, airplanes, bicycles, and pedestrians. He is active in the Florida community through board memberships for the Boys and Girls Club and the 100 Men of Pensacola. He has also been a member of the National Bar Association and the Escambia Santa Rosa Bar Association, as well as business organization involvement, which includes serving on the bank boards for First Union Bank, Regions Bank, Sunshine Bank, and Hancock Bank. He has also served on the board of the Pensacola Area Chamber of Commerce, Century Florida Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Gulf Coast African American Chamber of Commerce. So welcome, Gerald McKenzie.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here.
Good. Now we have a few questions for you. Some inquiring minds want to know. The first question I have for you is, tell us a little bit about yourself and your law firm you represent. And what else do you do besides personal injury?
Okay. I do a little bit of everything, but I tend to gravitate more towards business type issues when it comes to legal. And a lot of it has to do with my education background and my experience. As far as my education goes, I've got a Bachelor's of Arts degree in economics. I've got a Master of Business Administration with a major in finance. And I also have a law degree. Now, I worked for about 15 years in the business world. I worked as a corporate manager and also as a entrepreneur. So after about 15 years of business, that's when I decided to become a lawyer. So I went to law school at the age of 35.
Okay.
All right. And I've been practicing law now for about 30 years.
All right.
So
30 years.
But everything tends to be business for me. Okay. And so I get involved in a lot of, well, not a lot, but quite a bit of probate. Mm-hmm. And what excites me about probate is the how to resolve asset issues. You know, who owns what and how much are things worth. So you get a lot of that in probate cases.
Right.
But primarily it's personal injury that drives my business, but I do a lot of probate. And that's about it.
Okay.
Early on in my career, that got me into the courtroom every day was being a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. I was a prosecutor here in Escambia County for about 5 years. And that got me into the courtroom every day. And I really enjoyed that experience. Okay. And that has helped me as a trial lawyer today.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, let's talk about being prepared for the unexpected. So we're going to talk about wills. So when is it a good time to create a will, and how does someone start that process?
In my opinion, I think it's if you're an adult and you have assets, you own things, you should have a will. It doesn't matter how much you own, but if you own a car, if you own a house, if you own art, if you own anything of value, you really should have a will, because that will dictate who receives that asset from you. If you don't have a will, then the state will make that determination who will get your assets. So since nobody knows when they're going to pass away from this world, I think it's good to have a will as soon as you start to accumulate assets.
Okay. So what kind of wills are there? Are there different types of wills?
Well, there are different types of wills. There are some wills that have to do with your health. And then there are some wills that have to do with your assets. What I deal with are what we call the last wills and testaments. And that deals with what you own and who you want to get your property and who you want to be the person in charge of distributing your property.
Okay.
Now that's what the will requires. The will requires two things. One is you got to name somebody to be your personal representative or executive. The personal representative is the person who makes sure that everything is carried out according to your wishes in the will. You must name someone to do that. And to be safe, you want to name someone and then have a backup person in case that person you name does not care to take on that responsibility.
Okay, that makes
Okay?
sense.
So that's the personal representative. That's required. Now, what I'm speaking about today, T.E.D.R.A, is Florida law. Each state in the country has its own laws regarding wills and probate, okay?
Right.
So depending on where you live, you must refer to the laws in the state where you live.
Right, that makes sense.
So under Florida law, you must name a personal representative, and then you must name a beneficiary in terms of who will receive your assets.
Okay, yeah,
You've
absolutely.
got to name that person. Because if you don't name that person, then you're not making a decision, and then it's going to fall back to the judge to make that decision for you.
Oh, yeah. Then
Okay?
that's when probate comes in, right?
That's where probate comes in.
Okay.
So the will has to be very specific, who the personal rep is and who you want to give your assets to. You don't have to identify every asset. You just have to make a general statement. I want my assets to go to somebody.
Right.
If you want to be more specific, you can do that, but you don't have to be.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So walk us through the process of what happens after a loved one has passed away and how the will is actually executed.
Okay, if someone has a will and they pass away, the person who was named personal representative, and they would know who they are most likely, they would have to step forward and present that will to be recorded at the courthouse in the clerk's office. Okay. And then that personal representative would also go to an attorney to begin the probate process. Because that attorney will have to, what you call file a petition with the court, advising the court that this person has died and that the personal representative has stepped forward to probate this estate. And you have to give the court some idea of what type of assets this person had and when that person died and who the potential beneficiaries may be. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right.
So
now, the only time,
go ahead.
You don't need probate unless you have to transfer ownership from one person to another. Okay. So some people die with a will and they don't really own very much. So you don't have to do probate, but there may be things that that personal representative can do to distribute those assets.
Okay.
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 And those might be assets like things that don't have title ownership, maybe jewelry.
Oh, okay.
Photographs, small things like that.
Okay.
But typically, if you have a house, something big, a big investment, you have to change the deceased person's name to the new person's name.
Right. Right. Okay. So if you know somebody has a will, but nobody can locate it, what do you do at that point?
If you've done everything you can and you can't find it, I believe the court won't have any option other than to go by state statute. Because there has to be something in writing to advise the court what the wishes were of the deceased person. And so what I didn't mention about the will is that every will has to have two witnesses who sign the will saying that they observed that person sign that will. Right. Yes.
Yep.
So if you don't have that situation, it's going to be very difficult for the court to abide by anything that's being presented other than the original will.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about power of attorneys. I know that it's a lot of gray area there with power of attorneys. So when is it a good time to have a power of attorney?
I think a power of attorney is something that is the right that you give someone else to conduct your business affairs while you're living. Okay, so if you're
That's the
sick,
key, while you're living, right?
while you're living, because once you die, the power of attorney is no longer good.
That's important. A lot of people don't know that.
Right, right. It comes up all the time. But once the person dies, that power of attorney is no longer good. I've got a real live situation on this one. I purchased a house a week ago. And this was a house that was owned by an elderly woman. She was very sick. And the family wanted to sell the house because they know they knew that she would never go back to live there because she's living with other family members.
Mm-hmm.
They were under the impression that the daughter of this lady who had power of attorney could sell that house at any time, even after her mother died. And I explained to her, I said, I'd like to buy the house from you, but if you're going to use that power of attorney, we're going to have to use that before she dies. Because if she dies before we sign the papers, we're going to have to go through probate to transfer ownership.
Otherwise, there would be a chain of title nightmare.
Right. Well, not necessarily, but we'd have to go through the courts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So by using that power of attorney before the mother passed away, it was as simple as just signing the signature with the power of attorney, and the deal was done. The lady happened to die 4 days after we closed that deal.
Oh, wow.
So if it was 4 days later, it would have been a completely different ball game. They would have had to spend money on an attorney to open up the probate case.
Man.
And it would take at least 6 months to get it all done.
Oh my goodness. Wow. You're talking about luck. So how long do POAs last? So is there an expiration date on them?
No, generally you can write a POA to last as long as you want it to. And you would always say that the power of attorney can be terminated at any time as well.
You can write that in. Okay.
Yeah, you can write that in, and you can give all power to somebody or just specific powers. Okay. A lot of power of attorneys are pretty general in terms of covering a wide gamut of things that can come up in life.
Right.
Sometimes you only want to give people specific powers to do certain things so you can be specific in your power of attorney.
Right.
But the crucial thing is, that also has to be witnessed by someone.
Absolutely. 2 witnesses, right?
2 witnesses. You just can't write something and say, here's my power of attorney. It has to be fully authorized and witnessed. And it can last as long as you're living. Right.
Okay. Okay. And we already talked about using a power of attorney if they pass away. That's a no-go. You just can't do it.
Just can't do it.
Yeah. So
now the power of attorney. Now this is not just information for lawyers. In Florida, all of this is in the Florida statutes. Okay, so it's in there. So all you have to do is look in the statutes and pull up these topics, and you can learn some things. And also with computers nowadays, all you have to do is Google it.
Right.
And you're gonna find a lot of things, in Google about these issues. But still, I believe it's best to have an attorney to draft these documents for you. But at least the Googling will give you some preliminary information where you can go have a reasonably good discussion with any attorney.
So when you do power of attorneys and wills and you keep it on file, could a person just come to your law firm and talk to you about the will or power of attorney, or do they have to have the original? How does that work?
Typically, to use the power of attorney or the will, you have to have the original.
Gotcha. Okay.
Most attorneys that I know of, T.E.D.R.A, they don't keep these originals in their office.
Oh.
These documents are signed by the clients, and the clients take them with them.
Okay.
Now, the attorneys advise them, put this in a safe place, let somebody else know where it is, but this is the only original. So they have to take care of that.
And that's a good point. A lot of people don't
Yeah,
realize that. They think that, okay, well, I know this person went over here to this law firm. I could
right.
just go over there and can get
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
executed. Okay.
yeah, yeah. You can get it executed, but that lawyer probably will not have that original. Sometimes they might,
Hmm.
but that's just too much to keep up with, I think, for
Yeah.
most attorneys. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely understand that. So
Mhm.
concerning wills and POAs, what is your recommendation for people with a lot of assets?
I think with a lot of assets, you definitely need a will, but sometimes you may need something stronger than a will. You may need a trust, where the trust will accomplish similar things as a will. But I think they really need to consult with an attorney and maybe financial advisor to get some ideas on what would be the best way to manage their assets, and to to handle their estates. Yeah. But
Yeah,
if you have a lot of assets, it's worth, talking to, like I said, financial people and attorneys to figure what's the best way to structure your estate, because your goals may be different. There are
right, right.
certain things you want to do, because everybody's different. Some people have children that they want to leave things to at certain ages. You know, some people will have assets that they don't want to give to someone else directly. They want it to be managed by somebody else for the benefit of someone else.
Right, that makes sense.
Because I know in
Mhm.
my particular situation, I don't have any children, so I'm very concerned that whatever assets I have when I pass, I want to make sure that it continues to grow over time,
Right,
but
right.
still be used to benefit different things and different people. So sometimes I would be more inclined to use a professional investor to handle that, and that's where trust comes in,
That
right?
makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
But
this has been absolutely phenomenal. I really
you're getting rid of
appreciate
me
it.
already?
No, well, I didn't have
Wow.
any other questions, and I know that
Those were good
you
questions. And
are
I
a
think
busy man. But
judges,
I would like to thank you for tuning in and listening. And also I want to definitely thank Gerald McKenzie for popping in and talking with us. The legal stuff with attorney Gerald McKenzie. So I hope this interview was helpful, and to all my listeners and viewers out there, and you're able to utilize the information he discussed. And just a quick note, the Everyday Daily Real Adult Nonprofit Learning Organization is a nonprofit organization, and contributions will allow us to continue to provide free education to our young adults nationwide and local communities. So please visit our website for additional information about the organization, our recorded seminars and other interviews, our mission, as well as learn information about the teacher and our board of directors. And also, once again, thank you so much to Gerald McKenzie for providing such insightful information. And if you have any questions for Mr. McKenzie or need an attorney, please reach out to his office at 850-438-7285. And his website is www.geraldmckenzie.com. And he definitely will be happy to assist you there. But I didn't have anything else. Did you have anything else for our viewers and audience that you feel is important?
no, I think we covered the basics. And
Yeah.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you. And I wish you much success with your organization.
Thank you so much, Gerald. You have a good rest of your day.
All right. Goodbye.